Welcome back, guys, to the myth of illusions. And if you just passed by chance, welcome. Hope you enjoyed today's content. Now, the topic we're going to be discussing is the dynamics of coercive control, a study of how narcissistic operations within a high-demand cultic system. The phenomenon of the narcissistic cult represents sophisticated convergence of clinical personality pathology and authoritarian social engineering. At its core, this structure is defined by the symbiotic relationship between a leader possessing malignant narcissist traits and a group of followers whose individual autonomy is systematically dismantled to serve the leader's psychic and material needs. Now, unlike traditional religious organizations, which are grounded in theology, the narcissistic cult is grounded in the personality of its founder. The ideology serves primarily as a vehicle for the leader's grandiosity and a mechanism of subjugation of others. The psychopathology of the malignant leader. The architecture of narcissistic cult begins with a specific pathology of the leader, typically a profile defined as malignant narcissism. This construct, explored by analysts such as Erich Fromm and Otto Kernberg, represents a particularly destructive intersections of narcissistic personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, paranoid features, and ego-cytonic sadism. While the standard narcissist seeks admiration to bolster a fragile ego, a malignant narcissist seeks total domination as a defense against deep-seated paranoid anxieties. Core traits and the divine mandate. Malignant narcissists are characterized by a grandiosity of self-importance that is often expressed through fantasies of unlimited success, power, or brilliance. Within the cultic context, this grandiosity is typically externalized as a divine mandate or a unique world-saving mission that only the leader is capable of fulfilling. This leader believes themselves to be chosen, anointed, or a genius whose intellect and spiritual status place them above the laws and moral standards of ordinary society. The requirement for constant excessive admiration is not merely a preference, but a psychological necessity for the leader's stability. This need transforms the group into a mirror that reflects the leader's idealized self-image back to them, masking a profound underlying vulnerability and instability. Because the leader views themselves as infallible, any failure or criticism is perceived as a malicious attack, triggering narcissistic rage, a cold, calculating, or explosive aggression intended to destroy the perceived threat. Ego-cytonic sadism and the ideology of aggression. A distinguishing factor of the malignant narcissist in a cult setting is ego-cytonic sadism. While many individuals may struggle with aggressive impulses, the malignant narcissist perceives their own cruelty as a virtue of a necessary tool for the enlightenment of their followers, Aggression becomes idealized and woven into a conscious ideology of self-affirmation. In practice, this manifests as public shaming, physical punishment, or prolonged psychological warfare, all of which are framed as tests of faith or discipline intended to break the ego of the follower. This sadism serves a dual regulatory function. It provides the leader with a sense of potency and ensures that followers remain in a state of chronic hypervigilance, keeping followers off balance through unpredictable shifts between love bombing and devaluation. The leader ensures they remain the sole source of emotional validation and safety within the system. Oh. Behavior control and the erosion of autonomy. Behavior control is the first step in creating dependency. Narcissists in cult setting regulate the miniature of their followers' lives, including their diet, sleep patterns, clothing, and social association. This regulation is often framed as spiritual practice or a way to achieve purity, but its actual effect is exhaustion of the follower's cognitive resources. Sleep deprivation and restricted diets, for example, make individuals more susceptible and less able to engage in critical analysis. Furthermore, the narcissist dictates the follower's physical environment, often requiring them to live in communal housing where their movements can be monitored. This social conditioning ensures that the member is never truly alone with their own thoughts, as every action is observed and judged by the group. Information control. The creation of a closed narrative. Information is tightly controlled to prevent outsiders from influencing the follower's perceptions. Narcissists use several tactics to manage the flow of data. 1. Censorships. Members are discouraged from accessing non-cult media or the internet or critical literature about the group. 2. Deception. The leader systematically lies or withholds information about their own history and the group's true goals. 3. Compartmentalization. Knowledge is organized into insider and outsider categories, with information being shared only on a need-to-know basis. And lastly, surveillance. Members are encouraged to spy on one another and report deviant behaviors of expression of doubt to the leadership. This creates a bubble where the only truth available is the leader's narrative. When a follower is confused by the leader's contradictions or word salads, they are told that the fault lies in their own lack of understanding or negative spirit, forcing them to seek clarity from the leader themselves. Thought control and linguistic manipulation. Thought control involves the use of loaded language and thought-stopping techniques to bypass the follower's critical faculties. Narcissists create a specialized jargon that simplifies complex realities into binary cliches, such as the enlightened versus the worldly, or truth versus lies. Whenever a member experiences a doubt or a critical thought, they are trained to stop the thought through chanting meditation or repetitive prayers. This internal censorship is reinforced by the us versus them mentality, where any dissenting idea is labeled as a symptom of the enemy's influence. Over time, the member loses the ability to think independently, as their own inner monologue is replaced by the group's dogma.